A colourful variety of animals lives in our forests. Some are very familiar to us, others less so. Everyone thinks they know one particular animal. Only a few ever get to see it. But how do badgers really live? If we take a closer look, we have to reconsider previous conceptions. As of March, the sun gets stronger from day to day. But it's still quiet in the forest. Most animals sleep through the winter to save energy. But a few paw prints in the snow are proof that the burrow is still inhabited. The tenants spend the cold months in their cozy den and at most only leave it sporadically. The badger's hearts still beat as usual, but the metabolism is greatly reduced. The large martens now rely exclusively on their fat reserves. Contrary to their reputation, badgers are not grumpy old hermits. No, they are actually extremely social creatures. Most family members really enjoy a good cuddle. Outside at last, temperatures are rising and the forest awakens to new life. The wild boar lost no time and already began with family planning during the winter. They usually give birth in the spring. The 2-week-old piglets are in their best playing age. From running to brawling, everything they need for adulthood is trained as early as possible. The youngsters already resemble little battering rams. Later in life, this is how they will fight their rivals for supremacy during the mating season. Brawling is thirsty work. The mobile milk bar is just what the doctor ordered. Each of the offspring are allocated a certain teat. This is frequented as often as possible, until mother has had enough. But now, the little ones are also interested in solid food. Perhaps the wild boar family contributed to this transformation. Wild garlic seeds are distributed by soil residues on animal paws. Within a few days, the seeds sprout and spread their typical garlic scent. After around 3 weeks, the white blooms disappear again, when the leaves of the surrounding foliage prevent the sun from reaching them. For one forest dweller, moonrise marks the end of a long period underground. For the very first time in several weeks, a female badger finally leaves her set. Carefully, she checks whether the coast is clear. She cannot see very well with her relatively small eyes, and so places her trust in her hearing, and especially in her nose. Her sense of smell is up to 800 times finer than that of humans. The sow uses her nose in search of food too, And this is now absolutely vital. She has lost about 1/3 of her weight and must regain her strength as soon as possible. What's that? Nothing to worry about. A boreal owl is hoping to lure his female into his nest. He chose the abandoned black woodpecker hole a couple of weeks ago. Barely the size of blackbirds, the owls are unable to carve out their own holes, and as mere tenants are dependent on the woodpeckers. The female replies, but is not yet ready to come in. The birds mate with different partners every year and must first establish a bond with one another. Proudly presenting the nest is one aspect of the courtship ritual. At least, she has ventured somewhat closer. Will she accept the hole? Well, she has remained in the immediate vicinity, which is a good sign. How is a hungry badger supposed to have enough to eat when there are only a few snails and insects on the menu? The owl succeeds at last. His partner agrees to check out his hole. And feels, you chose well. Nothing more stands in the way of their family planning. But now, their day, or rather night, closes with the dawn. In the meantime, spring has spread itself out over the entire forest. The female badger's burrow is well hidden in a small clearing. Only a couple of holes in the ground are visible from the outside. Her basement flat, complete with its 5 entrances, is relatively small for a badger's set. After her nocturnal excursion, she sets off in the ensuing early hours in search of some tasty tidbits. She has a lot of catching up to do. In daylight, the timid sow is even more cautious until she finally dares to go out. She can't stay away for long, and there's good reason for that. She has left 2 cubs behind in her set. Her offspring are now 9 weeks old. They were not yet filmed out of consideration for the young family. The mother returns after just a few minutes. The youngsters use the opportunity to fortify themselves. Unlike wild boars, the young drink from all teats, always heading for the one they deem best at the time. A full stomach makes you tired. Badgers are real late developers and are suckled for more than 3 months. Nocturnal foraging, plus 2 greedy pups, take their toll. Thoroughly exhausted, the mother falls asleep. One of her young decides to explore the great big world outside. Young badgers are only very rarely seen outside. Usually they haven't learned to walk until they are 8 or 9 weeks old. Rather turn back. Curiosity is stronger than fear. The attentive mother immediately notices that something is wrong. As if she were a tracker dog, she picks up her little one's scent. A helpless pup like this is easy prey for foxes, hawks, and larger owls. The mother is painfully aware of this. She finds the cheeky escapee and grabs him by the scruff of the neck. In truth, he can be thankful that his doting mother found him in time. Meanwhile, other forest dwellers have also given birth. The crested tit literally has its beak full, trying to feed its brood with protein-rich insect larvae. Like the boreal owl, it depends on older trees and abandoned woodpecker holes to breed. A swarm of insects is just as indispensable for the bird world as a woodpecker. At just 4 weeks, woodpecker chicks learn how to catch insects with their long, sticky tongues. Other next tenants of the skillful carpenters include blue tits. Before long, the young woodpecker will leave the hole. His pigeon-sized parents now only feed him at the entrance. Its future depends heavily on whether it can find sufficient older trees as a breeding ground. Even on the lower floors, several animals are dependent on dead wood. The timid and rare wildcat has established a nursery in an old unused woodpile. She lures her young outside. They are now 4 weeks old and should now leave their hiding place. Initially, however, just to play under the attentive eye of the mother. Despite their youthful clumsiness, their fighting spirit is already evident. This tussling is half game, half earnest. Unlike badgers, wildcats are not family animals, which becomes apparent even at an early stage. The mother lures her kitten back into the safety of the woodpile before returning to the hunt. The rather long courtship of the boreal owl couple has at last proved successful. One chick has already hatched. Because the owls begin hatching immediately after laying their eggs, the young hatch in a row, which is typical for owls. The larder is well stocked. This is a job for the male, while his partner takes care of the feeding and warming of the young. Despite the stocks, the male supplies the female with almost every catch he makes. This behavioral pattern makes sense. Should the weather turn bad, the abundance of mice could become history. The owls live almost entirely on small rodents. The young badgers are no longer infants and copy their mother by rummaging through the leaves for food. Once they reach roughly 3 months, they regularly explore the immediate surroundings of the set. The mother still has them all on her radar. This bond will remain for quite some time. Like most other social animals of their age, the young badgers like to play and interact with one another. Suddenly, an uninvited visitor arrives. The mother recognizes the scent immediately. But the neighbors should steer clear of one another, although there are occasions when a fox and a badger share a den together. In Europe, this almost resulted in the complete extermination of badgers when their burrows were fumigated in the fight against rabies, until vaccination baits were laid out for foxes. These cubs are developing quickly when comparing them with young badgers. They were able to walk after 4 weeks, and now, 2 weeks later, they can move around at speed. Quarrels with siblings are on the daily agenda. Fox cubs develop their personalities at an early age. Some are cheeky and brave, others slightly more reserved. But they too voluntarily head for the security of the den when mother decides to go hunting. The little wildcats are now 2 months old and still dependent on their mother's milk. During the following 3 weeks, they will be gradually weaned and at the same time develop into little carnivores. What could be more special than a healthy litter? Wildcats especially like to inhabit large, contiguous areas of forest, which are now unfortunately often dissipated by roads or settlements. In countries like Germany, with just 6,000 animals, wildcats are critically endangered and may not be hunted. To raise 4 cubs is no mean feat for the single mother. Wildcats are loners, and the fathers rarely, if at all, participate in the upbringing of their offspring. But just how social badgers can be is aptly illustrated in a nearby territory. We have heard that in the past, badgers were considered to be grumpy old hermits, hidden away in the seclusion of their setts. But the truth is often the exact opposite. With enough space and decent food availability, they are extremely social and sometimes even form clans. Apart from an adult boar, most of the animals are females and young animals from different years of birth. Young male badgers are obliged to leave the ancestral territory after 1 year. Close family ties exist between the animals. When they get up, for example, they not only groom themselves, but help one another to rid themselves of dirt and parasites in their fur. Badgers mark each other with an anal gland secretion. Each animal has its own discernible scent, and the mixture of all of them provides them with a unique family smell. In this way, they can easily distinguish between family members and intruders. Their 3-centimeter-long claws are not just handy when digging, but also make fantastic combs. The old saying, business before pleasure, certainly holds sway with badgers, as they love to play after grooming themselves. This, too, is a much quieter affair than that of the fox family. The boreal owls are now 4 weeks old and no longer in need of mother's warmth. Now she can go hunting and feed the young again herself. The young male now also has more time in which to be just himself. Throughout the entire breeding season, the two partners repeatedly assure one another that all is well by exchanging their contact sounds. Their facial disc, which is typical of several owls, functions as an amplifier and helps provide their excellent hearing. In the meantime, the clan is in search of food. A badger is more of a gatherer than a hunter and uses his nose to rummage through the soil for all things edible. In the spring, they dig for earthworms, and in the arid summers, they prefer insects, larvae, and the occasional mouse. Typical omnivores. A few days later, and one of the chicks has left home. The other one is adamant not to be left alone. It's a typical owl trait that chicks leave the nest before they can fly. Yet still they are fed by their parents for at least another 3 weeks. One final check before check-out. None of the birds will return here. One particular bird has settled by the waters of the forest. The black stork. Unlike its white relative, the black stork avoids settlements and prefers the peace that sprawling forests provide. A very different kind of animal that also feels at home in moist, deciduous forests prefers the opposite. The young fire salamander requires prickly moss to repel its old skin. During this period, it has to be particularly careful, as it momentarily produces less poisonous skin secretion with which to keep its enemies at bay. In some European regions, this animal's population is endangered for a completely different reason. If infected by it, a fungus introduced from Asia can cause a salamander's death. Not only amphibians are aware of how to rid themselves of predators with poison. The red thimble is extremely poisonous. The consumption of a mere 2 or 3 leaves is almost certainly fatal. Yet, curiously, its nectar is an indispensable food source for both bumblebees and honeybees. On hotter days, wild boar herds delight in gathering in small forest ponds. This ostensibly social ritual allows the animals to cool off and search for water plants at the same time. The powerful canine teeth of the boar serve both as digging tools and ferocious weapons. Mud baths are an essential part of a boar's body care. When dry, the mud falls off, carrying parasites with it. In midsummer, male black-tailed skimmers stake out their territories. Able to surpass speeds of 40 kilometers per hour, dragonflies are doubtless the world's fastest insects. The little ones from spring are now hardly recognizable. They have lost their striped camouflage entirely and now look like miniature versions of the adults. They are still very playful, which helps them train for later life. adults now urge everyone to leave, an invitation not everyone appears to comply with. Unlike wild boars, badgers maintain their striped markings throughout their lives. What appears striking during the day blends together at night in the interplay of light and shadow. In the first months, after leaving the set, the young animals follow the adults. Inquisitively, they let the oldies show them how and where they can find food. Learning by imitating. One usually only sees the entire family together in broad daylight in the summer, with its long days. Now they would have far too little time to find anything to eat. In midsummer, the water fume is in full bloom, an important source of food for butterflies. Clever honeybees take this opportunity once again to collect pollen. Meanwhile, the young cats are 12 weeks old and are increasingly developing into real wildcats. Playtime has now taken on more aggressive features. There is hardly anything reminiscent of sibling love left. Young domestic cats usually get on with one another, which is not only due to the fact that they are pets. They are simply not descendants of European wildcats, but are rather of the North African wildcat variety. The mother still remains close by her offspring when they are outside. Sometimes the little ones even direct their wild temperament at her. It's here that she decides enough is enough, and unmistakably shows her cheeky upstarts just how far they can go. Suddenly, a neighbor arrives. As badgers are predominantly nocturnal, the two rarely meet. Although the martens could pose a threat to the very young wild kittens, there is no reason to worry, as they have no chance of getting past the watchful mother. While most forest animals have their young literally out of the woods, stag beetles are just at the threshold of their family planning measures. The huge antlers that distinguish a male beetle from a female are necessary for him to be able to outmaneuver his rivals. This fellow here seems to have already done so and has won over the object of his desire. The female will dutifully lay the fertilized eggs in the soil on the roots of dead trees. The larvae feed on the dead wood until they become formidable beetles themselves, after around 5 to 8 years. Then they will enjoy a very short life in full splendor for about a month. At last, the female can escape the clutches of the male and fulfill her duties. The male has nothing more to do other than to search for other females. But he should definitely take care not to come too close to badgers. Just like the woodlice, they play a vital role in the mutual forest household as they decompose old wood. All kinds of creepy crawlies can be found here, a treasure trove for the young male. But not all is tasty or digestible. Badgers should keep well away from these food decomposers. Some centipedes are poisonous and can even prove fatal for animals the size of a badger. Every rotting tree stump is a veritable supermarket, stocked with a multitude of insects and their larvae. Our ravenous friend arrives too late at this deer carcass. Other scavengers before him have left absolutely nothing. The badger, a 5-star opportunist at mealtimes, would have loved a few meaty morsels, but bare bones, what a disappointment. Yet still the carcass remains interesting. There are bound to be a few maggots or so in the vicinity. And now, in late summer, a much more abundant food source is available to him. Fallen fruit in the orchards. This young boar feels magically attracted to the fruit. He had to leave his clan as the dominant male no longer tolerated him, and now he has to take care of himself. When looking for a new territory, the quality of the food supply obviously plays a decisive role. Depending on the time of year, badger menus can either contain meat or they are vegetarian. The marten can be incredibly skillful. It's typical of many predators to retreat to a hideout with their prey, and badgers simply feel less safe in the daylight. Due to their high fructose content, apples are ideal for the badger, enabling him to build up a decent fat depot for the winter. The wildcat's woodpile appears abandoned. High up in the treetops, the mother is enjoying a well-earned respite from the past exhausting months. She has slipped away from her children, hoping to encourage them to go their own ways. From on high, she can observe her family falling apart. Her children are no longer in need of her. Understandably, the kittens hesitate to leave their mother and their siblings. The journey into the unknown is a difficult one. But then, there's no stopping them. Each kitten heads in a different direction in search of new territories. At most, they will only ever meet again by coincidence. The mother's strategy worked. Like all wildcats, her climbing skills are excellent, and she has no problem negotiating the 10 meters in height difference. The mother returns home just one more time to satisfy herself that all have left. The cat has done all that was asked of her, and in doing so, made a huge contribution to an endangered species. When her offspring manage to avoid large predators, such as lynx or wolf, and keep away from roads, they can look forward to a lifespan of some 7 to 10 years. Badgers are forever renovating and expanding. The master miners are able to extend their burrows for more than 30 meters and can dig to depths of up to 5 meters. Without working up a hint of sweat, they can move several cubic meters of loose soil, thereby creating entire hilly landscapes. The conversion also serves to keep the set clean, as badgers are very hygienic animals. They even construct their own toilets outside of their burrows. Some of these structures are still in use after several generations. Some are said to be more than 100 years old. Autumn gradually moves into the badger territories. The mother also has a lot to do. Long sleepers prefer sleeping softly. The sow builds a cozy bed out of leaves, hay and dry moss. This can take several hours. A little help from the kids? No way. Ready. Autumn is a time when many mushrooms form fruiting bodies to distribute their spores. Squirrels are not too keen on them, but forests offer them more than enough food. Most trees also produce their seeds at this time. In the coming weeks, the squirrel is busy stockpiling tasty morsels. Choosing suitable territory is therefore absolutely crucial. An acorn in its paws, a spruce cone on its back. What more can a squirrel ask for? All of the creatures of the forest look forward to the peak season of a given plant. From squirrels to wild boar to badgers. For them, in so-called mast years like this one, it virtually rains big, fat, nourishing acorns in abundance. It's a very special event that only takes place every few years. And it's just the right time for the mother. Winter is coming, and she needs every calorie. In the past, pigs used to be driven into the forest to fatten up on acorns, but this goal is also pursued by other animals. Because acorns are veritable energy bombs, which is why the sow grabs as many as she can. Badgers are different to hamsters and squirrels in as much as they don't store food. In short, their fat layers decide ultimately over life and death. The acorn mast is replaced by another spectacle in the late autumn. When the last leaves fall, wild boars begin to get a little hot under the collar. It's time for the mating season. With near violent chewing movements, the males produce foam in their mouths with which they mark trees and bushes. Wild boars check time and again whether the sows are in heat, and even mark them with their pheromone-rich saliva. The foam is designed to keep rivals at a distance, but when two of equal strength meet, a fight ensues. Now is the moment of truth. How well did they practice ramming as youngsters? Arguments are soon settled, and the winner has the females all to himself again. In the meantime, he has to recover, as he still has some fairly exhausting situations to face. In an intact wild boar herd, almost all of the females are on heat simultaneously. Peace has returned to the badger's set. The little family has retired to the comfort of the lower floor bedroom. Here they will spend the coming months fast asleep until next spring, when they will once again prove just how they really are. Neither reclusive nor grumpy, rather intelligent omnivores, skillful master builders, and social family animals.